Today, going to do a little bit of a repair here. I've got an old Acer, I think 27 or so, flat panel. It's actually the first flat panel that I ever bought, back when they were starting to be all the rage. It's early HD ready, but it was 720p, I think. I think for the time it had VGA, component, composite, and a few other inputs with a little bit of picture-in-picture. Nothing too extravagant. Bunch of modes and settings that pretty typical for a TV. Wasn't terribly expensive when I got it, but I also worked for the store. In fact, I ran the store that this was sold from at the time, and it was still about $1,000 when it was new. Nowadays it's probably disposable. Works just fine, except for the little infrared sensor in there, after all this age, has finally died. That happens to some of these TVs. They just stop responding to the remote. I've tried coating it, I've tried all kinds of stuff. Wasn't subjected to much sun, but really, testing the remote and everything leads it to believe that the signal's just not being processed on the TV. And where those little IR sensors can die, I'm going to replace it. I don't know if I've got a generic one here. Just a moment. Okay, so this is a salvaged IR. Let's see if this will focus here for us. Nope, doesn't want to focus. Huh. I guess I can't hold it steady enough. That's my fault. Anyhow, that's the replacement IR sensor. I'm pretty sure it's going to fit. If not, I'll take one of the little ones out of my helicopter. Some of those little disposable helicopters. Little toy ones like that. And these ones here, I've already gutted into them. Have some extremely small infrared sensors, and some of them are 3 volt and 5 volts. Anyhow, I'm going to open the TV up, and the next segment should be inside the back. I've got the butt panel off for the back cover. Quite a bit of room up in there. Nice power supply, I believe. That's a main switch mode power supply there. Oh no, it's got all broken little subheaders and stuff for the different voltages in the back. And they come into that main processing board there. Some nice heat sinks held down by springs. This just looks like the I/O board here for all the analog type inputs. It did have DVI, actually, VGA and DVI, and component, and a whole bunch is here. Anyhow, and an analog tuner. You won't be seeing too many of those in the next generations of TVs. I think most of that's all gone. Anyhow, I gotta figure out how to get the rest of this body off and get to the front, or the back of the front, which is actually down here. Anyhow, let's get to that now. A little bit further along. Oops, I don't really have my tripod on right now. But I've got it open, and that's the board I'm expecting to see the bad infrared remote receiver on to repair this old Acer TV. The power supply, the main processor board, and the analog inputs. Got the 2 big speakers up in the corners, and a sort of nice big solid metal shielding all around. Nice big metal frame, and then the screen is well protected under there. This was just an LCD TV, if I remember. It was before LED, so it's an LCD, and I think it has a compact fluorescent CFL backlight. I'm not sure. Can't remember the specs on that, but I do know this is the board we're interested in right now. This little feller here, if this will focus for us. So I'm going to open that board out and have a look and see if I can replace the IR sensor, and I do believe it's probably going to be those 3 pins right there. Anyhow, let's do that now. Turned around, you can see That's the infrared sensor there. Now I notice it doesn't have a shield, so I'll probably just take the metal can off my replacement one there. But yeah, not much to it. A status LED, a power button, and an infrared, and one little capacitor. So I'm going to get that one desoldered and get that all turned around, and then we'll see if we can't power it up and use the remote. Okay, so of course the moment I did that, the autofocus went out. There we go. Now we have down here we have the replacement infrared sensor, and of course this is my magnetic tipped screwdriver. Would be, wouldn't it? This is the module, and I'm going to take that sensor out. I'm assuming it's dead, and inside this metal can is actually one of those, so I'm going to open the metal can up on that and get that ready. Now its legs might not be long enough, so we'll have to see how that works out, but I'm sure I can figure it out even if I have to bodge something together and get that sorted out and show some pictures of that. Ooh, that's the autofocus there. Reflection off that little light is going to blow the autofocus. The pins were quite long, longer than what my replacement had, so what I did is I clipped the tips of these off, these pins here. I'm in the process of just soldering directly to what's left of those stubbies. It's actually quite secure now. Actually, it's probably already soldered on completely. But I'm just going to finish snipping the extras of these pins off and solder those down, and then we'll power it up and test it. But sometimes you got to do that. Sometimes it's better to do that than mess around trying to unsolder down here or desolder all this, because that's a pretty strong ground plane. Don't want to melt this plastic too much down there, and it's pretty easy just to do it up here at the top. Sometimes that's just the simpler thing to do, and looks like it's having a hard time staying focused on that one. Weird. It just keeps going in and out of focus. There we go. Must not have been enough contrast for it. Let's see if I can bring it up here. Get it to focus on that. No, it won't focus on that. The light is just not... Oh, well, anyhow, you get the idea of what's going on in there, whether this will focus on it or not with this light. It seems to want to work back at this distance. There we go. Anyhow, it's a tiny little fiddly thing, and I'm going to do the next stage, and this is the dead one. Well, at least I think it's dead. I'll test it with an Arduino later. If this chip doesn't work, which I know he works, he's been tested with an Arduino, then I'll test that chip, or that sensor after. Not sure how this is going to record, but I'm just going to put the module back in here now. Oop. Get on that little header. And that just goes down in there like that. One little ground screw. Okay, well, I'm going to button this up and then get back for the test. So I've got it back together, and I don't know how well this is picking up that, but that's actually an orange light down there. It's probably showing up as yellow on this camera, but to the human eye it's orange. Now here's the moment of truth. Does this remote now control this TV? Oh, and there we go. So yeah, there's no feed, so everything is good. Oh, and even remembered all my settings, even though I opened it all up. So that's it. Let's have a look now. Let's get to the menu. Yep. Channel up and down is working. I don't know if you can see that in the top corner up here. More importantly, the volume and the ability to turn it on and off, because when it's hooked to our cable tuner in the other room, the digital cable tuner just wants to control the volume, and we don't even worry about the channel. Of course, the PC, there's no PC and a component, and if I put the picture in picture, it wants to put the component in the VGA feed, which of course both of them are dead right now, but that's all working, so that's good. Perfect. Anyhow, thanks for watching.